जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा। विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा। तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे। गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
भारत माता की जय। भारत।
Professor C. Kumar to deliver his welcome address.
A very good morning to all of you. It is indeed a great privilege for all of us here at O.P. Jindal Global University to celebrate the 70th Republic Day of our country. I would like to take this moment to extend a warm welcome to Ambassador Rabi Narsh, the Ambassador of Lebanon, for kindly consenting to be the chief guest at this special occasion. We are actually blessed in this campus to be able to have this national flag, raised on Independence Day and Republic Day, and also on other occasions. It's also a great tribute to our own founding chancellor and benefactor, Mr. Naveen Jindal, who fought this extraordinary case which led to a Supreme Court judgment that culminated in the right to fly the national flag for every Indian, every private individual in this country. And so we want to pay a tribute to our benefactor, Mr. Jindal, for upholding the right to fly the national flag. Republic Day is a very special occasion for us because of the fact that it is also the day when the Constitution of India came into force. As a university which prides itself in the fact that it also has a law school which promotes legal education, constitutionalism and rule of law has its origins in our own constitution, and it is on this day that the Constitution of India came into force. And I will invite shortly the Dean of our Public Policy School to give us a historical context to this special occasion. I also want to recognize the presence of some very outstanding individuals today, as well as groups of people. I also want to recognize the presence of Mr. Christian Hirst, the Councillor Political of the Australian High Commission. As some of you know, we will also be celebrating shortly the Australia Day. The Indian Republic Day coincides with Australia Day, and so we will also be raising the Australian flag shortly, and we are very delighted that the Centre for India-Australia Studies is hosting Mr. Hirst on campus. We also are very pleased to be hosting a number of students from Australia as a part of our immersion program. I would like to extend a warm welcome to the Australian students from the Monash University, Murdoch University, University of New South Wales, Australian National University, Melbourne University and Deakin University, who have joined us at this celebration of our 70th Republic Day, and as well as will be joining us shortly in the Australia Day celebrations. We also have another group of students from Tsinghua University, China. As you know, Tsinghua University is the most prestigious and leading university in China, and we are hosting nearly 30 students from Tsinghua University at our campus, and they have also joined us in the celebration of the Indian Republic Day. It's in addition to both Australia and China, we are also having the distinguished presence of a number of faculty members who are part of the Afghanistan delegation, who are undergoing a faculty development workshop, and so we are joined by them. So this, besides our own faculty members who represent, as you know, 32 different countries in the world, and so this is indeed a global, celebration of Indian Republic Day, and I want to extend a warm welcome to all of you. I also want to say that Republic Day marks an occasion of coming of age for India, and as we move into this year, it's also an opportunity for us to reinforce the goals and aspirations on the basis of which this republic was founded. those values of promoting equality and seeking justice and creating a society that cares for all and indeed promotes justice in all its forms and manifestations continues to be a journey that Indian Republic is pursuing. I think it is only fair to say that universities such as ours have a very big role to play. The young people who are being taught here, who will be empowered to pursue higher levels of excellence in their life, have a big role and responsibility to play as they become future leaders who will be shaping the future of India and indeed the world. I want to take this occasion to celebrate the extraordinary contribution of our leading figures in the freedom movement, because of which we are able to cherish this freedom and even our democratic ideals that is enforced through the Constitution. And in that sense, the Republic Day becomes a unique and special occasion for us to celebrate. With those few words, I would once again reiterate and join us, all of us together in celebrating the 70th Republic Day. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rajkumar. Now I request Professor R. Sudarshan, Dean of Jindal School of Government and Public Policy, to explain the significance of the Republic Day.
Thank you and welcome to all of you on Republic Day. Republic Day really marks the adoption of the Constitution of India and its enforcement. The Constitution was formally adopted on 26th of November in 1949, and it was meant to come into force by the date chosen by the Constituent Assembly, that happens to be 26th January. And the reason for choosing this date is that in 1929, on the banks of the river Ravi, the Indian National Congress adopted a resolution for complete independence. Purna Swaraj, it was called. And in that resolution, they said 26th of January would be celebrated as India's Independence Day, rejecting the British offer of Dominion status. And that's why this date was significant, and the framers of the Constitution decided that the Constitution should come into force on the 26th of January. So that's the historical significance of that particular date. It also happens, of course, as the Vice Chancellor mentioned, the date for Australia Day, because in 1788, the first group of people from Britain arrived at Sydney Cove and formed the first settlement in Australia. And 200 years later, in 1988, Sydney witnessed a recreation of that day with tall mast ships in Sydney Harbour. So it's a nice thing to be able to, for us, to celebrate both the days. It's also been a practice that Republic Day is a day when the preeminent role is given to the President of the Republic, who receives dignitaries, and there's usually a convention of inviting a chief guest on this day, and the chief guest today is the President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa. In 1995, we had Nelson Mandela as the chief guest, a year after he had been released from Robben Island and ended apartheid in that country. We've also had, for the benefit of students from Tsinghua, Marshal Yi Jing-jiang, who was the Marshal of the People's Liberation Army. He later on became the chairperson of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, and therefore head of state for some time. And he was the chief guest in the Republic Day in 1958. We've also had, in 1977, 1979, Malcolm Fraser, the Prime Minister of Australia, as the chief guest. I must say, it's particularly significant that we have the ambassador of Lebanon here, because one of the great inspirations for the framing of India's constitution was the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And in the framing of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, one person who played a very, very significant role was Charles Habib Malik from Lebanon. He was a great philosopher, did his PhD at Harvard, was a student of Alfred North Whitehead, also studied with Heidegger in Germany before he left that country at the onset of Hitler's party, and was an enormously sensitive individual who cared greatly for pluralism and diversity and tolerance. And it's these values that inform the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We had a member in the committee that drafted it, the commission, Mrs. Hansa Mehta, who was also a member of the Constituent Assembly. So there is a link, and a very significant and important one, between Lebanon and the work of Charles Malik and the framing of India's constitution with this wonderful chapter on fundamental rights. And interestingly, the chapter on fundamental rights includes provisions for the protection of minorities, which was strongly advocated by Charles Malik in the Universal Declaration, but did not get inserted in that document. It came in to the Convention on Civil and Political Liberties later. So this is an occasion when we have to remember these values. And before I finish, I'd urge all of you to listen to or read the speech of the President of India, who emphasized that the pillars of this country are diversity, democracy, and development. And he talked about achieving constitutional ends through constitutional means, compassionate ends through compassionate means, inclusive ends through inclusive means, and this emphasis on means to the end being just as important as the end is a great lesson from Mahatma Gandhi, whose 150th year is what we celebrate this year. So with these words, I wish you all a very happy Republic Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sudarshan. Now I would like to request Professor Y.S.R. Murthy to introduce our chief guest.
His Excellency Rabi Narsh is the Ambassador of the Republic of Lebanon to India since February 2018. In his long and illustrious career, he has held many important positions, which include, among others, Counselor, Secretary, Charge d'Affaires of the Embassy of Lebanon in Turkey, Director of the Bureau of Secretary General in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Immigrants, Beirut, Lebanon, Head of Palestine Department at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Charge d'Affaires of the Embassy of Lebanon in Freetown, Sierra Leone, Member of National Committee Against Money Laundering, National Committee for Fighting Terrorism Financing, Lebanese-Palestine Dialogue Committee, and Committee for the Employment of Palestine Refugees in Lebanon. He has completed PhD prerequisite courses and dissertation final drafting in constitutional laws, master's degree in public administration from Lebanese University, diploma in administrative reform and development from the Lebanese public sector as a case study from ENAD, École Nationale d'Administration et de Développement, Beirut, and BA in Political and Administrative Studies. I now request His Excellency Ambassador of Lebanon to give his remarks.
Namaskar. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's such a glorious morning. The Republic Day of India, celebrated at a leading educational organization with Lebanon as the chief guest. If this has any significance, it just exemplifies the sublime meaning of patriotism, progress, and friendship. And who else could be more adept in expressing and blending these features than OP Gender Global University. Let me start by wishing you all a very happy 70th Republic Day. Ab sabi ko Gantantrata Divas ki Shubhkamnayan. I'm elated to be part of this celebration today and grateful to the OP Gender University for bestowing this honor on me. Today is a day to remember when India's constitution came into force on January 26, 1950, completing the country's transition toward becoming an independent republic. This is a day to remember with gratitude the great efforts and sacrifices of millions of freedom fighters whose blood gave Indians independence. Freedom fighters, to name a few, like Lal Bahadur Shastri, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, Lala Lajpat Rai, and Subhash Chandra Bose and Rani Lakshmi Bai. I hope I pronounced the names properly. Inspired and led by Mahatma Gandhi, the people of India immersed themselves in the process of writing a constitution that embodies the eternal values of humanity, equality, freedoms, and human rights. On this day, let us also remember the golden heritage of India and celebrate the freedom to express and live our lives with pride. The question now is why Lebanon? Why did OP Jindal choose Lebanon to be the chief guest of this auspicious day? Besides what the professor has just mentioned about Charles Malik, our great philosopher who contributed to human rights, the International Human Rights Declaration, of course, the link is very obvious. It's simply because these two freedom-loving countries share same values of liberty, diversity, sovereignty, and democracy. Like India, Lebanon is a vibrant, multicultural society advocating for human rights, non-violence approach for politics, and enlightened freedoms. To be honest, India feels like home to me. So meaningful and wonderful to us in Lebanon are Gandhi's words about India. This great man foresaw the importance of assimilation and coexistence of citizens of different backgrounds under the same umbrella of the country, the homeland. He adroitly said, India cannot cease to be one nation because people belonging to different religions live in it. A country must have a faculty for assimilation. India has ever been such a country. In reality, he added, there are as many religions as there are individuals, but those who are conscious of the spirit of nationality do not interfere with one another's religion. He added, and this is one of my favorite quotes of Bapu, he said, in no part of the world are one nationality and one religion synonymous terms, nor has it ever been so in India. And I can add, it has never been either this in my country, Lebanon. Today, India is a well-established, modern, innovative, and free nation that has earned the respect and confidence of other nations. It is a day that all Indians must cherish and be proud of. I wish you all a very happy Republic Day and congratulate you all for being part of a country where minds are without fear and the heads are held high. I wish for India and its people more prosperity, productivity, and continued success. May it expand in every field with the hands of its youth, with your hands. Jai Hind, Jai Lebanon, Vande Mataram. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I request Professor Y.S.R. Murthy to give his concluding remarks.
our chief guest for the day, His Excellency Rabi Narsh, Vice Chancellor Mr. Rajkumar, Member Governing Body Dr. Sanjeev Sani, deans of various schools, faculty members, heads of administrative departments, and other staff, JGU security staff, Sodexo workers, spouses of faculty members and administrative staff, children. We are so delighted that all of you are participating in the 70th Republic Day celebrations. In particular, I wish to thank the visiting students from Monash, Murdoch, UNSW, Deakin, ANU, and Melbourne universities, and visiting students from Tsinghua University, and the faculty members from Afghanistan who are here today to participate in the Republic Day celebrations. I also wish to acknowledge the presence of Councillor Political from the Australian High Commission, Mr. Christian Hurst. I wish to thank all of you for participating in these celebrations.